You want answers?
What's that going to set up?
We gotta go to work.
It's the Strat Attack Show. But we're always wondering what the next two is.
Holy shnikes at work.
That's something I want to know about.
What's your name, scumbag?
Strat Attack Show.
We're on a mission from God.
Here's Rob Smith.
Hello everyone, I'm Rob Smith. Usually if it's Tuesday, but now it's a Wednesday because of the holiday, but we get into the urban assault vehicle and see what's going on. So let's see what's going on here. So not a lot. And so, when you see these guys calling out spy on these shorter time frames, it's really doing nothing. So what we have here is an inside day. So we do have an outside day, which means they're willing to pay up, sell down, then inside day. But if you look at the weekly here, we like nice long red and green bars. We don't have them. Look at this. 3 dojis in a row on the weekly. So not much going on there. So what we want to do is, it's also the beginning of the new year. So we have new time frame continuity on the year, the quarter, month, all that week, all that kind of stuff. So we want to start scanning. And I talked about this. Let me shrink this down. We talked about this like at the power hour last night. We want to start scanning, because you don't have to be the first person in there. If things are really going to start moving, let them start going, and then we know how to get in. So if we look at something like this, coming into tomorrow, we do have inside days for Apple and Tesla and NVIDIA. All right, so that's something on a scalping basis, but right now it's nowhere near a high trending basis, and that's what we want. So if we go to who's taken out yesterday's highs or lows based on the month and the week, of course, we want to start seeing that. Doesn't mean we have to jump in on it. Let's go the week. Let's go the month. But what that tells you, when you have a monthly basis, what that means is that once it starts to break, that you have all month to go after it, to look for shorter term setups. So if we go to volume here, who's taking out last month's highs? Pretty much nobody, but you do have Meta, right? So if learning to scan is important, because what that tells us, if the NASDAQ does firm up, that you got Meta taking out last month's highs, right? You got U.S. Bank, you got some banks taking some stuff out, Boeing, and I talked about that in the nightly vid, all that kind of stuff. Nike, that's also in the Dow, but it's early in the month. It just gives us an early warning system of what to look for going forward in the month. So if we go to who took out last month's lows, Microsoft, and so we'll take a look at Microsoft. That could be a problem because you know how they are. So you have Apple inside day. Let's go to that. Oof. Apple inside day 3-1, and if it goes to the downside, you already have Microsoft doing this, gapping down. Now you're in exhaustion risk because you're taking out these lows, and what that means is sellers might be exhausted. They might have done what they want to do, but if we go looking at the month here, now you're a 3-2 month down. So that tells us for the rest of the month, we're going to see if that sets up again to take that down. So if we go back to the scans here, well, GE split into 3 pieces of crap, I think. So we want to look for concentrations. We're not seeing that just yet. SM and the energies, stuff like that. So we're not seeing that just yet because we just started the new month. We just started the new year. But we'll be looking for in the SPY here. How do we take out this month? Right? And we've been watching this for a long time, and I know it's been boring and it sucks, but you got your higher high, your lower low, nowhere near taking that out. Now you are closer to taking out the monthly lows from December. So we want to know about that, but we're not taking them out just yet. If we go to QQQ here, you see that higher high, lower low, and still a lot closer to taking that out. And so the tech still in trouble. If we go to the Dow Jones Diamonds, we know they've been stronger. However, let's take a look at this monthly and get your broadening formation. You got your lower lows, and you got your slight higher highs. Now the diamonds are closer coming to the upside. On the monthly, they're closer taking the downside, but in general, closer taking the downside. So what that tells us, we want to continue to watch the industrials. We'd like to see all these monthly breaks at the same time, hopefully to the downside, because that would help us. We're closer to doing that. If not, we've got inside months to start off the year. And we also knew that we have inside weeks are highly probable because of the 2 short weeks. We only have 4 days, so a lot of potential inside weeks. But the monthlies is what we really want to know about, the bigger picture. And that even if we start to rally, good chance that we're still an inside month. If we go to small cappers, here, how you're not going to be an inside month, and that's why we prefer the downside, because we're closer to taking these things to the downside. But you can see this thing just sideways, sideways, sideways. So we could use like some earnings. We could use more things, because the Fed comes out, does nothing really. If we go back to the SPY here, it's like what we want to look for is all the all the sectors. What are they doing? Are they all going up? Are they all going down? Are they going into like XLU here? Are they trying to come into a a defensive posture? What are they doing? Right now, we don't know. So, we just got to let them open. Hopefully, we get into a nice earnings season. And then we have another one. MLK Day is another 4-day week. So that's some more potential inside weeks. Right, but we got to get out of this thing, or make a move to try and get out and either fail or make it. But we are nowhere near this, and that's why when you look at the weekly, basically doing nothing for 3 weeks. And so what we're going to do going forward is continue to look for the long green and red bars. And so when we scan again, here's what we'll be looking for. So I scan during the day. I scan, for everything, but there's yearlies, but it's brand new. So we can go weekly because it's the same time frame since the new year opened with the new year week opening, and saying, okay, well, who's on the move? Right? We know there's been like shenanigans, the little guys, but here, do we see any concentration? Not really. We see Mr. coming back up, and that tells us Bitcoin's trying to rally back. Ulta, that can tell us to some retail. Boeing, as I talked about in the nightly vid, that's good. And then if you go to the other side and say, okay, what do we see here? And CACC was on our list today. Usually doesn't have that much volume, but it did today, 400,000. Let's go take a look at that. And that was a nice move. That was a nice 3-day to the downside, right? And it was pretty fast. There's a 2230, so it'd be hard to be keeping an eye on that. Then going sideways here. So the question is down, sideways measured move, crush it tomorrow, all that kind of stuff. So if we go back to the scans, do we see anything that's, sticking out? UNH, Northrop Grumman. What does that tell us? That tells us potentially, the war machines. It tells us healthcare. ENPH tells us potential solar. Humana reconfirms that we're looking for the weakness in the healthcare. And so if we go back to that, UNH also in the Dow. So we'd want to watch that in the Dow to make sure that that continues to puke. But what it did, the Rev Strat week, 1, 2, 2. So it hit magnitude. The question is in the monthly, here, inside month to the downside. So that tells us to watch all the XLV names, your CI, your Humana, all that kind of stuff. Because right out the chute, they're selling these things. Now, it's early in the month, So, you know, if they got to set up again, they got to set up again. But that's what we want to look for. And that's, once again, when I pull up the scan, there's Cigna, there's Humana, there's UNH. And so always looking for a concentration of stuff like that. And then going down here, you'll see, let's see, what else do we see here? LMT, that's reconfirming the Northrop Grumman. We want to keep an eye on that, right? All that kind of stuff. And we know team here, that was also in the window today to keep an eye on, because team is doing this. Team is flirting with that inside month and down, right? And this is a big down move, then sideways. This could be a measured move to the downside. So, you know, if we continue to see downside there, we'll keep an eye on that. If we go back to the scan, D-Dog, that tells us more tech, right? But I can't stress this enough. It's early in the month, and we've got an inside day for SPY. So we just want to look for the early clues on what's going on, right? Because we need to get out of this. And you know, I can't stress this enough. As far as the futures are concerned, we need to get out of this. We are nowhere near doing it. All right, we're closer to taking the lows out. If we start to rally, we have a good chance of an inside month, which we would prefer not to happen, but at least we'd know about that. But do we take this high out? Do we take this low out? And then do we continue to do that? Until then, you're going to see these days like you've seen, back and forth chop shop. Right? Look at this. Oh, it's going to tank. No, it's going to rally. Oh, it's going to tank. No, it's going to rally. No, it's going to be outside. Now it's going to be inside. So all this kind of stuff, need to understand that, because once it really starts rallying or really starts puking, is that most traders don't know how to get in on that, or they feel like because they've been chopped up so much that they're chasing. But we're going to use Strat setups to go after them, and we're also going to use these scans to see, okay, how many of these things are taking out the weekly lows, weekly highs, monthly lows, monthly highs. Do we have a concentration in the sectors, right? And we will see that eventually, just not today. So we got to wait for it, but we'll see. Another shortened week. Tomorrow, because of the holiday, we have the oil number coming out with the natty gas number, and haven't seen too much go out of that. But if we go to XLE, you know, and people are like, oh, we're going to buy it again. I'm like, so last year, because, you know, we know from last month, 2-2 reversal, and now red again. Right? So you got your lower low, your higher high. There's your broadening formation in XLE, but we don't have the signals that we had last year, right? And so we're always looking at those. And as I went through the macro vid, I'm like, we don't have a lot of signals. We could easily go inside years on a ton of things, which is not what we want. So we prefer the downside as traders, only because that we're closer to taking out the yearly lows than we are taking out yearly highs in most things. So don't like to be bearish. I'm like, and we aren't. You know, this will tell us. But at this point, you know, this corrective activity here in the XLE still working as far as we know. Still an inside month, but it's early in the month. It's early in the year and all that kind of stuff. So we'll let them open. We're going to go after them, and hopefully we get into some earnings season, get something going. You know, it is, you know, in my office with my friends that I've been trading with for years, you know, we're always like, what's the next thing, right? What's the next thing? Is it a war? Is it a this? Is it a that? Is it a memes? We don't have that right now. We got a whole bunch of nothing. So we let them open, and that's what we've been doing all, you know, for a while, because of this and the SPY. Doing nothing for weeks, and that's why, you know, when we do, you know, I do the mind the gaps in the morning. I'm like, there's been nothing. I'm like, nothing's moving. The good part about that is we'll let them open, and then you'll see things move, and that's all. Type things in the window and say, okay, China's on the move. things opening flat and moving. We like that. It's just we don't have them, continuing. Like saying the next day, it still does that. It's every day, day to day, because of back and forth of these dojis. So until we can get out of here, we would be an inside week to the upside. We kind of are, but not much. So not much. So we're gonna let them open and stay on them. All right, that's good for this week. I'm Rob Smith. Smith the Black. Strat Attack.
You've been listening to the Strat Attack Show.
It's over.
That looks like I'm running out of time again.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
And now for something completely different.
Yeah. Did you get that memo?
Let's go to Billy Baroo.
Billy.
Here's where they're buying.
Oh, behave.
Here's where they're selling.
Oh, righty.
I'd keep an eye on this. Is that a problem? It is.
You just don't turn it off.
I'm Rob Smith.
I hate Illinois Nazis.
I'm Smith in the Black with the Strat Attack.